Well, hello there.
Love shoes? You'll love this. Welcome to Shoe Station, your destination. Love shoes? You'll love this. Welcome to Shoe Station, your destination.
Nigga bear.
The Oasis Travel Center sits alone on a desolate stretch of Interstate 8, about 65 miles east of San Diego, where the Sonoran Desert stretches endlessly in all directions. Most people driving through don't even notice that it exists until their gas gauge hits dangerously low or their bladder threatens to burst. That's when our neon sign becomes a beacon of salvation in the wasteland. I've worked the night shift here for 4 years now. The pay is decent, the work is mostly easy, and the solitude, it suits me. But there's a reason that we have trouble keeping employees. When I was hired, the owner, a weathered and gaunt woman named Valeria Kovac, handed me a laminated card along with my name tag. Her eyes, sharp as obsidian and just as dark, locked onto mine as she said, "These rules are non-negotiable. Break them and I cannot guarantee your safety, or anyone else's." At the time, I think I laughed nervously, but 4 years later, I don't find anything about the rules to be funny. Rule 1. If somebody pulls up in a black Suburban with tinted windows between midnight and 4 a.m., lock all of your doors immediately. Do not answer the intercom. Don't make eye contact through the windows. Rule number 2. Do not, under any circumstances, accept cash or credit from the red-haired woman who limps. If she appears, direct her to pump 3 and press the emergency button under the register twice. Rule 3. If a customer says that they're just passing through from Crawford, call this number immediately. 602-555-3187. Say nothing else to them. Rule 4. Should the lights flicker 3 times in succession, go directly to the supply closet. Lock yourself inside until exactly 5:17 a.m. Ignore all sounds no matter what or who you hear. Rule 5. Never allow anyone to use the bathroom in the northwest corner, even if all other facilities are occupied. If asked specifically about that bathroom, say that it's under renovation. Rule 6. If a child enters alone between 1 and 5 a.m., do not speak to them. Press the blue button beneath the coffee station and wait for Valeria, regardless of whether she's scheduled. Rule 7. Should you encounter a man in a beige trench coat who asks for directions to the meeting place, direct him to the storeroom and then leave the building immediately. Drive away and do not return until daylight. I thought these were the paranoid ramblings of a woman who had spent too many years alone in the desert heat. But then I experienced the rules firsthand. And that happened during my second week on the job. The night had been quiet, just a few truckers stopping for coffee and a couple of exhausted families heading to San Diego. By 1 a.m. the place was empty, and I was restocking the snack aisle when headlights swept across the windows. A black Chevy Suburban pulled into the lot, moving slowly and deliberately. It circled the building once before parking directly in front of the main entrance, its engine still running. The windows were tinted so dark they looked opaque even under our bright overhead lights. Rule 1 immediately came to mind. I moved quickly to the front, hitting the master lock switch that secured all the doors. Just as the system engaged with a heavy thump, the Suburban's driver's door opened up. The man who stepped out was tall and broad-shouldered, dressed entirely in black tactical gear, including gloves and a fitted cap that shadowed his face. He moved with military precision toward the doors, testing the handle when he reached it. Finding it locked, he tilted his head slightly, and then raised his hand and tapped on the glass. 3 precise and measured taps. When I didn't respond, he cupped his hands around his eyes and leaned close to the glass, trying to peer inside. I stepped back, keeping the counter between us, avoiding looking directly at his face, as per the rule.
Hello.
His voice came through the intercom system.
I need assistance with fuel. My card isn't working.
I remained silent, watching him out of the corner of my eye.
I know someone's in there.
He continued, his tone level with an underlying tension that raised the hair on my arms.
This is government business. Open the door.
He reached into his pocket and pressed something against the glass. It looked like a badge, though I couldn't make out no details by looking directly at it.
Last chance.
He said after a full minute of silence.
Open the door or there will be consequences.
I stayed frozen in place, heart hammering in my chest. The man finally lowered his hand and spoke again, his voice different now, deeper, with an unnatural resonance that made the glass vibrate slightly.
We know what you're hiding here. We'll be back.
He returned to the Suburban and sat inside for exactly 17 minutes. I timed it on the security monitors before finally driving away, headlights off as the vehicle disappeared into the darkness. When Valeria arrived for her morning shift, I told her what had happened. "Did you look at his face?" she asked me sharply. "No," I replied. "I followed the rule." She nodded, visibly relieved. "Good, good. They've been coming more frequently lately." "Who are they?" I asked. Valeria's gaze drifted to the window. "People who want something that we protect. That's all you need to know for now." A few days later, there was a news story about a convenience store robbery about 30 miles down the interstate. The cashier had been found with precise surgical incisions across his body, still alive but with several missing organs. Witnesses had described a black Suburban moving asleep. It was a busy evening in the summer tourist season. The store was packed with travelers buying snacks, using the bathroom, and filling up on gas before tackling the long desert stretch ahead. I was ringing up a family of 5 when I noticed her enter. She was perhaps in her late 30s with vibrant copper hair that fell in waves past her shoulders. She wore a floral summer dress that seemed too cheerful for the desolate surroundings, and she moved with a pronounced limp, favoring her left leg. There was nothing immediately threatening about her. She browsed the aisles methodically, selecting a bottle of water, a sandwich, and a travel-sized bottle of aspirin. As the crowd thinned out, she approached the counter, smiling pleasantly. "Just these, please," she said, her voice melodic, with a slight accent that I couldn't place. "And 20 on pump 5. As I began scanning her items, the second rule flashed through my mind. I glanced at her red hair. I noticed the limp again as she shifted her weight. "I'm sorry," I said, trying to keep my voice steady, "but pump 5 is out of order. Would pump 3 work instead?" Her smile faltered slightly. "I prefer pump 5. Are you sure that it's not working?" "Positive," I lied. "Maintenance is coming tomorrow." She studied me for a long moment, her green eyes unnervingly bright under the fluorescent lights. "All right then, pump 3 it is." As she gathered her items, I discreetly pressed the emergency button twice, as per the rule. That'll be $26.78, I said. She reached into her purse and pulled out a crisp $100 bill, holding it out to me.
My
When I
nigga.
hesitated to take it, her smile widened, revealing teeth that seemed
My
too sharp.
nigga. My nigga.
Is there a problem? She asked.
Nigga.
Don't accept bills over 50 after 8 p.m.
I'm gonna kill myself.
Company policy. Her expression hardened.
What you know about
I don't have
rolling
anything
down
else.
in the deep?
I
When
can
your
void the
brain-
transaction, I offered.
What?
Daniel is,
Before she could respond, the door to the back office opened, and Valeria emerged.
If
even
he
though
is
she wasn't
grounded, I mean, I
scheduled
don't
that
actually
night.
know if he is grounded.
She took in the situation at a glance.
Let me text his
Marjorie,
father.
she said, addressing the red-haired woman. It's been a
Yes,
while.
I have his father's number.
The woman,
Hold on.
Marjorie,
Find
turned,
it.
her stance shifting subtly into something more predatory. Valeria, still playing gatekeeper, I see. You know the arrangement. Valeria replied calmly. Pump 3 only. No interactions with the staff.
His father
Marjorie's
usually
pleasant
texts me
demeanor
back
evaporated
pretty
entirely.
quickly, so we shall
The
see.
arrangement is growing
he's better
tiresome.
than Daniel.
There will be a
Yes,
renegotiation soon.
He actually is better at Daniel
Not
than
while
Daniel
I draw
replying.
breath, Valeria said. Marjorie laughed to sound like glass breaking. Oh, that can be arranged. She turned back to me, and for a split second, her face seemed to ripple, the skin beneath the surface moving in ways that defied anatomy. And then she collected her items, leaving the $100 bill on the counter. Keep the change, she said, her voice distorted now, layered with what sounded like multiple voices speaking in unison. Consider it a down payment on what's coming.
My balls.
She limped out of the store. Through the windows, I watched her approach Pump 3, where she began fueling a sleek red sports car that I hadn't noticed arrive. Don't touch the money, Valeria warned when I reached for it. She produced a pair of tongs from beneath the counter and carefully picked up the bill, dropping it into a metal container that she pulled from her pocket. What was that about? Who is she? Someone who tests boundaries, Valeria replied cryptically. We have an understanding, but she's always looking for weaknesses. What would have happened if I had taken her money? Valeria sealed the container with a twist. The last cashier who did developed a flesh-eating infection that started in his fingertips. Doctors had to amputate both hands. He was lucky too. The one before him wasn't so fortunate. She never elaborated on what had happened to the one before, and I never asked. Later that night, I reviewed the security footage out of curiosity. In every frame where Marjorie should have appeared, there was only a blur of static, as if the camera couldn't quite capture her image. It was a quiet Tuesday night in March. A dust storm.
Oh, Daniel's at karate right now.
Leaving a fine layer of grit on
Bruh.
everything outside. and
His
keeping
dad
most
said
travelers off
his
the
dad
road.
said he'll be back in just a
I
little
had spent
bit.
most of my shift cleaning and organizing, grateful
He
for
said
the
he'll be
lull.
back at 6. In this
Around 2
motherfucker.
a.m., the bell above the door had chimed. The man who
Right.
entered was unremarkable in almost every way. Average height.
Yeah, he'll
brown hair
be
that was
back.
cut
He'll be
short,
back. He'll be back.
And he was wearing jeans and a windbreaker. He nodded politely and headed straight for the coffee station. After filling a large cup, he grabbed a prepackaged Danish and approached the register. There was nothing suspicious about him. He looked like any other tired traveler stopping for caffeine. Just these, he said, placing his items on the counter. Oh, and I need to fill up my tank. I'm just passing through from Crawford.
Fucking kill
The
myself.
words sent a chill through me. Let me check on something first. I'll be right back, I said, reaching for the phone. I dialed the number from memory. The line connected immediately. No one spoke, but I could hear breathing on the other end. I have a customer here who says he's passing through from Crawford, I said, keeping my voice steady. The line went dead. I hung up, forcing a smile. Sorry about that. Which pump are you on? The man's demeanor had changed subtly. His relaxed posture tightened, and his eyes, previously tired, were now sharply focused. constantly scanning the store. Pump 2, he said cautiously. Is everything okay? Fine, I assured him. That'll be $7.35 for the coffee and Danish. He paid with exact change, his movements now precise and economic. As he turned to leave, he paused. You should consider finding another job. Places like this, they attract attention. The wrong kind. Before I could respond, the sound of approaching vehicles made us both turn toward the windows. 3 unmarked black vans had pulled into the lot, surrounding a man's sedan. Dang, he muttered. Too slow. He glanced at me. You might want to step into the back room. I remained frozen behind the counter as 6 individuals in unmarked tactical gear emerged from the vans.
Oh, hey, Chainsaw, I have a
Rush to
card
draw
for you.
weapons, just formed a loose perimeter around the building.
No.
The man set
It's
down
just
his
really
car
funny because it's a
and
meme
said,
card. Use it wisely, my friend.
Crawford sends his regards. The game is changing. A woman entered the store, tall with close-cropped gray hair and the bearing of somebody accustomed to authority. She wore a dark suit with no identifying insignia, but the others clearly deferred to her. Agent Pearson, she addressed the man. You're becoming predictable. Director Walsh, he replied with a thin smile. Still doing the consul's dirty work. She ignored the jab, turning to me instead. You followed protocol correctly, thank you. The man, Agent Pearson, was escorted out without resistance. As Director Walsh turned to leave, I found my voice. What is Crawford? Who are these people? She
So I'm gonna
studied me
touch
for a
you.
moment. How
But
did you
use
work
that card
here?
wisely, my friend.
Well, almost a
But
year
it's
now,
not even-
I replied.
Bruh.
Ask Valeria about the history of this place, about what sits beneath it.
It's a meme
If she
card.
trusts you enough to tell you, then perhaps you deserve to
This
know.
is from Magic the Gathering, the fuck?
Within 15 minutes, they had all
Well,
departed.
yes, but like,
Agent Pearson
it's
and
still a
one of the
meme card.
vans, his sedan left behind. By morning, the car was gone without a trace. When I asked
fucking
Valeria
amazing.
about what lay beneath the
So
travel
funny.
center, her expression darkened. Oh, some questions are better left unasked. The
Oh, I'm
rules
gonna
will keep
die.
you safe. That's all that you need to concern yourself with. But that night,
fucking
as I was
hell.
sweeping the floor near the northwest bathroom, I noticed something odd about the tiling. In certain light, what appeared to be ordinary floor tiles revealed faint outlines of what looked like a massive trapdoor. A severe thunderstorm had rolled in from the west, bringing with it howling winds and rare, violent rainfall that pounded against the roof like artillery fire. Few travelers braved the weather. The store had been empty for hours. I was organizing the magazine rack when the lights flickered once, twice, and then a third time in rapid succession. Rule 4 instantly flashed in my mind. Moving quickly, I locked the front door,
I'm gonna touch you.
down the registers, and made my way to the supply closet at the back of the store. It was a small space, crowded with cleaning supplies, extra stock, and a small desk with a monitor displaying security camera feeds. I closed the heavy door behind me and I engaged both locks, a standard deadbolt and a heavy-duty slide bolt that seemed excessive for storing paper towels and window cleaner. Checking my watch, I saw that it was 1:42 a.m., nearly 4 hours to wait. The first hour passed uneventfully. Rain continued to lash against the building and occasional thunder rattled the windows. I watched the empty store on these security monitors, wondering if the rule was merely a precaution against power outages. But then at precisely 2:17 a.m., the cameras went dead. One moment they displayed the empty store and the next, it was nothing but static. A minute later, I heard the front doors open despite having locked them
I'm
myself.
gonna
Heavy
touch you
dragging
now.
footsteps moved slowly across the sales floor, accompanied by what sounded like labored breathing, wet and ragged inhalations that carried clearly over the storm. Hello? A man's voice called out. Is anyone working tonight? I need help and I've been in an accident. His voice sounded strained, bubbling with what might have been blood or water. The footsteps continued, moving methodically up and down each aisle. Please, I'm hurt badly and I just need to use your phone.
It's funny that you say
A
that.
thud against the supply closet door made me jump.
Oh no.
I know you're in there. I can smell you. Please, I'm dying.
I'm watching a Minecraft video.
Something wet seeped under the door. Not water, but something
Wild.
darker and thicker. It smelled of copper and salt. They ran me off the road. Cut me open.
Wait,
and
why
let
are
me
we fucking
die.
Minecraft?
Please, I have children waiting for me at home. I remained silent, my heart pounding so hard I feared the person, or whatever it was, could hear it through the door. It hurts so much. The voice whimpered, genuinely agonized. I won't last much longer. Please. The handles rattled violently, the entire door shaking under tremendous pressure. The slide bolt groaned but held firm. After several minutes of assault on the door, everything went quiet. I thought perhaps that it had given up, until I heard a new sound from the air vent above. Liquid dripping slowly and steadily. That same copper smell intensified. If you won't let me in, then I'll come to you. What followed was a grotesque, wet, slithering sound, as if something large and boneless was forcing itself through the narrow ventilation system. Dark fluid began to pour more rapidly from the vent, gallons more than any human body could contain. I pressed myself into the farthest corner, watching in horror as the substance pooled on the floor, beginning to take shape, rising and forming appendages that were almost but not quite human.
Finish something.
Then, just as the mass began to resemble a crude human figure, the fluorescent light in the closet brightened intensely, buzzing like an insect swarm. The fluid thing recoiled from the light, releasing a sound no human throat could produce, a multi-tone scream that vibrated at different frequencies simultaneously. The substance retreated back through the vent with that same slithering sound, leaving only a dark stain on the floor that evaporated within minutes, as if it had never existed. For the remaining hours, I heard a cacophony of voices, men, women, children, all pleading for help, describing increasingly horrific injuries and situations. Fingernails scratched at the door, fists pounded against the walls. Something heavy repeatedly threw itself against the outer barriers. At exactly 5:17 a.m., everything stopped. The cameras flickered back to life, showing an immaculate and empty store. When I finally unlocked
I'm
the
gonna
door
touch
and
you.
stepped out, there was no evidence of any disturbance. No footprints, no stains,
Damn,
no damage
Mike.
to the front doors. When Valeria arrived at 6 a.m., I told her what had happened, and she nodded grimly.
Hey,
It comes with the
I destroyed
storm,
his cockpit.
she
He
said.
could not live without a
Always
cockpit. He
has.
fucking flame.
What is it? I asked.
Oh,
She
that's
studied me
going
as
down.
if deciding how much to
Striker
reveal.
aircraft? No.
Something hungry, she finally said. Something that feeds on desperation and pain. It knows what makes you want to help, what makes you open doors that should stay shut. Has anybody ever opened the door? I asked. One time, before my time, they found parts of him scattered across 3 countries. It happened during a particularly busy Saturday afternoon. I wasn't usually scheduled for day shifts, but I was covering for a coworker. The store was packed with weekend travelers, families on road trips, and motorcyclists touring the desert highways, truckers that were on tight schedules. All 3 public restrooms were occupied with lines forming when a frazzled-looking woman approached the counter.
Take my kid?
She had a squirming toddler on her hip and was clearly in distress. "Excuse me," she said urgently. "My son can't wait any longer. Is there another bathroom that we can use? Please." I was about to direct her to the employee restroom when she pointed directly to the northwest corner. "What about that one? Nobody's using it." "Oh, I'm sorry. That one's under
Shoot it
renovation,"
at.
I said automatically.
The fuck,
"But you can
dude?
use our employee restroom." I reached for the key beneath the counter.
Striker
The woman
aircraft.
frowned, still looking at the northwest bathroom. That's odd. It doesn't look
You
under
appear to be playing that
renovation.
game a
The
lot.
door's open. I froze. The door to the bathroom was always locked, like always. Stay here, I told her, handing over the employee restroom key. Use this one instead. I approached the bathroom cautiously. Sure enough, the door stood slightly ajar, despite the out-of-order sign still hanging on it. A maintenance cart was parked nearby, which explained things somewhat. Ramirez, our daytime handyman, must have been working on something. I called out, "Ramirez, you in there?" No response. Protocol would have been to find Valeria immediately, but she was off-site at a supplier meeting. Against my better judgment, I pushed the door open wider. The bathroom appeared ordinary at first glance. A single toilet, sink, hand dryer, tiled floor, and walls painted the same beige as the rest of the building.
Violently.
Ramirez's tools were scattered on the floor, including a pry bar that had been used to remove several floor tiles, revealing concrete underneath. As I stepped inside to investigate, I noticed faint markings etched into the exposed concrete. Not random scratches, but deliberate patterns. The markings were old, the concrete around them discolored with age. In the center of these markings were something that made my blood run cold. A small opening, no wider than a quarter, that seemed to descend into perfect darkness. Ramirez's flashlight lay nearby, still on, its beam directed into the hole. I knelt down to look closer, careful not to touch anything. A current of air emerged from the opening. Not the stale air that you would expect from a sealed space, but fresh and moving air that carried an unfamiliar scent, metallic and organic at the same time. As I leaned closer, I heard something, distant at first and then growing louder. Voices, hundreds of them, whispering in languages that I didn't recognize. They ebbed and flowed like ocean waves, occasionally rising in what sounded like pain or desperation before subsiding again. A sudden scraping sound from deeper within made me jerk back. Something was moving down there, something solid against stone. I scrambled to my feet and back toward the door, only to collide with someone behind me. I spun around to find Ramirez, his face ashen and eyes wide with fear. "You shouldn't be in here. No one should be in here." His hands trembled as he gathered his tools. "I was just checking the seals. Valeria has me inspect them monthly, but this time..." He glanced at the hole in the floor. "This time it opened wider. They're getting closer." "What do you mean? What's down there?" Ramirez shook his head. "Ask Valeria if you want to know. I just do what I'm told. I check the seals, do my job. 20 years I've worked here and I've never asked questions. Neither should you." He ushered me out and then locked the door behind us with a heavy key that I had
I'm
never
sorry, I
seen
just
before.
tooted.
He removed his out-of-order sign and replaced it with a new one that read, "Biohazard contamination. Authorized personnel only." When I finally had a chance to speak with Valeria the next day, I told her what I had seen. She was furious, not at me, but at the situation in general. "Oh, the seals are failing faster than I expected," she muttered, more to herself than to me. "We'll need to strengthen them again." "What seals? What's underneath this place, Valeria?" She regarded me for a long moment. "This area was considered cursed by the native tribes. They called it the mouth, where something hungry lurked underneath." "You're talking about some kind of supernatural?" She cut me off. "I'm talking about something very real and very dangerous and very contained, as long as the rules are followed and the seals are maintained." So the bathroom. It's built directly over the primary access point. The original gas station from the 60s used that space to access whatever was down there. They thought that they could use it to control it. Well, they were wrong. She sighed heavily. "My family has maintained this place for 3 generations. keeping people safe and keeping it contained. What happens if it gets out? I asked. It won't. Not while I'm alive. The next day, a construction crew arrived to renovate the northwest bathroom. They worked behind sealed plastic barriers for a week, and when they finished, the room had been converted into a storage closet. No toilet, no sink, just shelves of supplies and a new concrete floor painted bright red. Rule 6 regarding children entering alone between 1 and 5 a.m. came into play during a very cold night in January of my 4th year. The temperature had dropped unusually low for the desert, hovering just above freezing. A bitter wind whipped across the empty parking lot, and I had cranked up the heat inside the store to combat the chill seeping through the windows. At 2:38 a.m. the door chimed. I looked up from my paperback to see a small figure step inside, a girl no more than 7 or 8 years old. She wore a thin summer dress, completely inappropriate for the weather, and no shoes. Her long dark hair was tangled and unwashed, her skin pale to the point of being almost translucent. Rule 6 immediately came to mind, but something about this child had made me want to break it. Her vulnerable appearance, the clothing that didn't fit for the weather, the fact that she was alone in the middle of the night. Every protective instinct screamed to help her. But I had learned by this point that you had to trust the rules. Without speaking, I moved to the coffee station and pressed the blue button hidden underneath. The girl watched me with unnervingly dark eyes. She began walking slowly around the store, trailing one finger along the shelves, leaving a faint smear of something dark that I initially mistook for dirt. "Aren't you going to ask if I'm lost?" she finally said, her voice sweet but with an underlying timbre that raised the hair on my arms. Most grown-ups would ask if I'm lost. I remained silent, watching her carefully from behind the counter. "I am, you know," she continued. "Lost. I have been for a very long time." She picked up a candy bar, examined it, and placed it back on the shelf. Where her fingers had touched, the wrapper was discolored, as if burned. "My mommy and daddy left me here, right on this spot, though it looked different then. There was no store, just dirt and a very big hole." She smiled, revealing her teeth. "They pushed me in. I've been trying to climb out ever since." I felt cold sweat trickle down my spine. The girl approached the counter, moving with an odd and fluid grace that seemed more like floating than walking. "I'm so hungry. Won't you help me? Just a little food, or maybe..." She extended one small hand toward me. "Maybe you could take my hand and help me find my parents. I think they went that way." She pointed towards the northwest corner of the store. The front door chimed again as Valeria...
Oh shit, I forgot I was in
"That's
Discord.
enough," she said sharply, addressing the girl. The child
That's
turned, her
crazy.
expression morphing from innocent to feral rage in an instant. "Gatekeeper," she hissed. The
That's
word descended into her
wild.
teeth. "Always interfering. You know the boundaries. Return to your domain." "The seals are weakening," the girl said. "Soon, no rules will bind us." "Not in my lifetime," Valeria stated. The girl, or whatever she was, laughed. The sound was like breaking glass. "Your lifetime grows shorter each day, Gatekeeper. We can smell your mortality." "Perhaps, but my successor is already chosen and prepared." This seemed to give the creature pause. It studied Valeria carefully and then shifted its attention to me. "No," it whispered. "You wouldn't dare. They are not of the bloodline." Valeria smiled thinly. "Times change and methods adapt. Now go before I strengthen the binding further." The girl's form seemed to flicker like a television with poor reception. For a split second, I glimpsed something else beneath the child's disguise. Something twisted and ancient, with too many limbs and a gaping maw filled with rings of teeth. And then she turned and walked stiffly toward the exit. At the threshold, she paused and looked back at me. "See you soon, successor," she said in that horrible multi-voice. "Perhaps I'll wear a different face next time, one you can't resist helping." After she left, I leaned heavily against the counter, legs weak with delayed terror. Who was that? "One of the hungrier ones," Valeria replied grimly. "They're getting bolder and testing how far they can push." It called me a successor. Valeria sighed heavily. "I'm sick," she said bluntly. "It's terminal. 6 months, maybe less." The news hit me hard. Despite how strange she was, I had grown to respect this woman. Somebody needs to be around to keep things in order. Somebody there to enforce the rules. I've been watching you for 4 years now. You follow instructions, you don't panic when there's pressure, and you pay attention. So you want me to take over. I don't have much family left. My daughter wants nothing to do with this place. Says it's a curse and not a responsibility. Perhaps she's right, but somebody must do it. But why me? Why not Ramirez or one of the other longtime employees? Well, because they haven't encountered all 7 roles and survived. You have, and that makes you qualified. And what if I say no? Well, then the rules will fail, the seals will break, and what's beneath will devour everything for 100 miles in every direction.
I'm
And
gonna
that's
touch
just
you.
for starters. She let that sink in before adding, "Just think about it. You have time to decide, but not that much time." The final rule, about the man in the beige trench coat asking for the meeting place, was triggered just 2 weeks ago. It was evening and the store was filled with the usual mix of truckers, tourists, and locals. I was handling the rush pretty well considering how distracted I had been since Valeria's revelation about her illness and her plans for me to take over. Around 8:45 p.m., as the crowd was thinning out, the door chimed and a man entered wearing a beige trench coat despite the warm spring weather. He was an average guy with no features that were somehow difficult to focus on. He seemed relatively average, with nondescript features that were somehow difficult to focus on, as if my eyes kept slipping away from his face whenever I tried to study it. He browsed casually for a few minutes before approaching the counter. Something about him made the other customers unconsciously move away, leaving a bubble of empty space around him. Excuse me," he said, his voice oddly flat, lacking the natural cadence of normal speech. "I'm looking for directions to the meeting place." My mouth went dry. "The storeroom is through that door," I said, pointing to the back of the store. "Third door on the left." He smiled, a movement of lips that didn't reach his eyes. "Thank you. They're waiting for me." As he walked toward the back, I noticed something disturbing. His feet made no sound on the linoleum floor, and from certain angles he appeared slightly translucent, the shelving units visible through his form. Following the rule, I quickly locked the register, grabbed my keys, and headed for the exit. As I reached the door, I heard a commotion
This
from the
kid is
back.
not getting online today.
Raised voices, something heavy falling. Every instinct told me to leave as instructed, but concern for the remaining customers made me hesitate. There were still 4 people in the store, a young couple selecting snacks, an elderly man paying at the self-checkout, and a truck driver
This
filling up a
guy's
thermos
very
of
full
coffee.
cock.
"Everyone needs to leave," I announced, trying to keep my voice steady. "Store emergency, please exit immediately."
The coolest mod
The
you
custom-
can find in War Thunder. This Russian KV-2 is no ordinary tank. Created by the user Acism, this tank comes armed with a 30mm Gatling gun as its secondary weapon. For the main cannon, it measures in at 2,000mm. As you'd expect, its firepower is off the charts. It even creates ginormous craters. Furthermore, it's also extremely speedy. Made by Palaska, this civilian aircraft comes strapped with 4 AIM-7M Sparrows. Having a radar on board, it allows you to fire these at enemy aircraft. Surprisingly, this plane even has a modeled interior, although in low quality. This Syrian pickup truck, made by Wiltman, is an awesome vehicle. Being armed with a recoilless rifle, it has great firepower. I'd say 9 out of 11. However, there is one issue. In real life, the rifle would have a back blast. Because of this, the crew inside would get decapitated. The coolest mods you can find in War Thunder.
For Mother's Day, I'm getting her something.
1738. I'm like, hey, what's up? Since your pretty eyes, soon as you came in the door, I had a lot of things to do today, but you know what I did instead? I took a nap. It was a very good nap. That I had a lot of things to
Die, potato, die. I baked you a pie. Oh boy, what flavor? Pie, pie, pie.
Dad, I'm hungry.
I'm hungry, I'm bad.
Why did you name me this way? Why?
Die, potato, die.
a landmark moment for the US.
Did gaming take over your life? You're not alone, and it might not be your fault. The makers of games like Fortnite, Roblox, and Call of Duty are being sued for designing experiences that keep players hooked for hours a day.
Yeah, I heard.
I was born a burden. My parents said it jokingly, but I could tell it had always been on their mind. Even as an infant, I had bronchiolitis, hypersensitive skin, and several infections. My mother used to say that I was made as if God was tired of looking out for me and handed it all over to my parents. He couldn't be bothered anymore, she would half joke. I was a sickly child in a healthy family. I had 3 older brothers and 2 younger sisters, and while one affliction would disappear, it would just make way for another. Bronchiolitis gave way to asthma, infections gave way to allergies, sensitivity gave way to eczema. Add a mix of violent migraines, bad eyesight, and car sickness, and you have 8-year-old me. I grew up near a vineyard. If you continue east from Toulouse, past Gaillac and Albi, you find this long stretch of road piercing through a sparse forest, opening to the colorful rolling hills of southern France. A lot of people just think champagne when they think of French wine, but there is so much more to it. My father used to say that before we had a country, we had wine. Now, while we didn't live on the vineyard itself, my family owned it. My father had worked those lands since he was a boy, and me and my brothers were expected to do the same. My sisters too, but
Yeah, I don't think the man
way.
is getting on.
But
No.
this isn't like in the movies where we
texted him,
bite
he's
down some
not.
road with a half-cocked beret and baguettes in our basket. This was hard work.
I'm
We're
gonna turn
talking
this father
chemicals,
into a
heavy
TV.
machinery, inspections, quality testing. Traditions
We
have
get
to
him
evolve
pregnant
to
with a-
satisfy a modern market. So when I say hard work, I don't mean leisurely strolls down lanes of grapes. I mean dragging boxes of equipment, filling out paperwork, loading up trucks, sitting in meetings with suppliers, paying taxes, and reaching seasonal work quotas. Now I couldn't do all of that. I wanted to, but I couldn't. I couldn't run very far, and I couldn't lift heavy things without running out of breath. I would get headaches from staring at screens. My mom had to do my laundry separate from the others, or my skin would break out in hives from the softener. I had to use special shampoo, and I had to get special buttons and zippers. I had a nickel allergy, and wouldn't you know it, most zippers and buttons use nickel. But I think that I could have lived with all of that if it wasn't for my allergy to fur. All my siblings wanted was a pet, but my allergies were too strong. If they were at a friend's house and that friend had a cat, I could get a reaction. It got so bad at times that I had to stay in the car while they went
I'm gonna
grocery
touch
shopping,
you.
in case somebody at the store had a dog. I did have some medication for it, but it made me sleepy and nauseous.
I'm probably gonna go to
Not
bed.
a good combination for longer car rides.
I have a long day tomorrow.
I remember one time when
But
my
then,
brother
I'm gonna have all weekend
snapped
off.
at my parents. He was 5 years older and had just crossed the line into being a teenager.
I'll be back
We
if
were all
Daniel
sitting
comes
down
back.
for dinner and I
Toodles.
was having a reaction to something in the soup. My parents argued whether it was the tomatoes or the spring onions. My mom had aired out the house earlier that day, so it might just be pollen from the garden. But Maurice couldn't take it. Every day there's something new. Why do we even bother keeping him alive? Of course, my mother scolded him, but it didn't matter. He was furious. We would be so much better off without you. We could have so much, we could go anywhere and do anything, but we're all stuck with you. He stormed out, screaming all the way up the stairs to his room. I would rather have a dog than you as my brother. The thing is, he wasn't wrong. He was just saying the quiet part out loud. I suppose that's the worst of it. That night, I went out into the woods. I had taken one of my allergy pills so that I wouldn't get sick from the trees, but I could feel my legs dragging from the side effects. I had filled my pockets with a small pharmacy, the standard kit for leaving the house. I wanted to find Maurice a dog. It was a stupid idea, but I really wanted him to like me. Of course, there aren't many stray dogs roaming the French countryside, but I didn't think that far. I was upset and I didn't want to be a burden anymore. I wandered through the woods for hours, calling out for something to find me, something that I could show everyone. I just wanted to do good. It got too dark to keep going, and so I decided to head back. I was disheartened. I had made a fool of myself again. And then I heard a splash. There were puddles in the woods from the afternoon rain, and something was splashing around in it. Something small. A frog, perhaps. I got down on my knees, letting the mud soak into my freshly cleaned jeans. Sorry, Mom. I felt around with my hands and touched something poking against the tip of my finger. I recoiled. Sorry, I said. I don't want to hurt you. I felt around a little more carefully. Something about the size of my thumb was moving around in the mud. Not a frog, but something equally slimy. I held my hand flat, inviting it to be picked up. What are you? I asked. You're not a frog. It crawled into my hands and lay there. I held it up to my face, trying to see what it was. It didn't move. Something black with a ridge along the spine. You want to come home with me? Or you can stay if you want. I put my hand back down, but it didn't leave. I couldn't help but smile. I think that was the first time something willingly chose to stay with me. But it was late and my parents were out looking for me. I hurried into one of the storerooms and got a jar. I filled it with some rainwater and dropped my new friend in. I left the jar open if it wanted to leave, apologizing profusely, and promised that I would be back in the morning. I hid it on the far side of the house, near a pile of raked leaves. My parents were furious, of course, but mostly just worried. Maurice got a severe talking to, which didn't make things any better. Not only had I been a burden to him, but now he got in trouble because of it. I was probably in for a beating. I had trouble sleeping that night, trying to imagine what my friend in the jar looked like. Maybe it was a frog after all, like a really cool, black, punk rock kind of frog. The next morning, I hurried outside to check on the little creature. I picked up the jar and noticed how it had curled up in the bottom of it, trying to submerge itself completely in the water. I hadn't filled the jar that well and had considered that it might need more water. Was it some kind of fish? Strange. I remember standing there in my flip-flops and jammy bottoms. Fog was rolling off, giving way to the early morning sun. My hands were chilly as I filled the jar with water from a garden hose and held it up against my face to get a better look.
Be advised your drone has located a
The
bomb.
creature was about as long as a middle finger and blacker than coal. I could clearly see the spine of it where little spikes poked out, but I couldn't make out what kind of creature it was. It had the head of a trout but the body of a snake. It had gills with long tendrils coming out
5
the
seconds
side.
before insertion.
As soon as I filled the jar up, it came to life, twirling and rolling
Found a
around the
bomb. Make
jar,
your way to its location
almost
and
like a
defuse it.
dance. And then it looked at me with dark and expressionless eyes. I'll call you Milu, I smiled. We are going to be best friends. Can you tell that I was a Tintin kind of kid? I decided to keep Milu hidden from my siblings. Maurice was still a bit salty, to show him something that he could use to hurt me. I had never had a pet, and chances were I would never get one, so I decided to keep Milu hidden away. I fed him little bits and pieces, grapes from the vineyard of course, ants, flies, and little bits and bobs that I could squirrel away from my dinner and breakfast. He took his time with it but seemed to like all of it. He also enjoyed having little things to play with, so I would drop in little plastic soldiers and rocks and stuff. I would imagine him as a sea monster towering over the other soldier guys, my own little kraken. After a couple of days, I noticed a weird smell coming from the jar, so I decided to take it inside to clean. I waited until nobody was home, got a fresh jar from the storeroom, and hurried into the kitchen. My heart was pounding as I opened the jar, only to feel this eye-watering burn in my nose. I was having an allergic reaction to something. I filled the fresh jar with water and tipped Milu into it before pouring the old water down the drain. I hurried back outside and almost dropped him. I had to sit down and take asthma medication, wheezing for air, apologizing between coughs. "I'm sorry," I cried. "I'm sorry, I don't know what." I looked down at Milu. He had pressed his little fish head against the glass, looking at me with eyes wide open. Even without a single muscle to express emotion, I could tell that he was worried. There was something in that discarded water that got my allergies flaring up. That much I figured out. I tried running the tap in the kitchen to get rid of the smell, but I could still feel it. By the time my mother got back, I was scared that she might notice it. Instead, she walked in with a smile. Somebody picked flowers.
Four last operator standing. Op 4 eliminated.
Want to make a big impact without getting lost in a big system? Join youth villages to be a force for families while becoming part of one. Help make positive changes on a national scale, one community at a time. Apply now at youth.
It smells wonderful. As my secret
Need to use your drone to locate a bomb.
I picked up on a few things. Milu would do something to his water, something that I was very allergic to but that others seemed to enjoy. If I got some of it on my hands, I would get this terrible rash. But the smell was to others wonderful. There was one time when I was cleaning out the jar when my dad burst through the front door. He was probably just home to get his lunch. I hurried out the back door, leaving the dirty thing in the kitchen corner. It was free from rocks and pigs this time.
Insertion in
The
10
smell
seconds.
was as powerful as ever. I made my insides itch.
5 seconds.
But Dad wasn't reacting like that at all. I saw him from the
Your mission is to locate and defuse a bomb.
bending it over and down, sniffing it and tasting the contents, going down it in 6 big gulps. The tendrils extending from his gills got longer, and his jaw grew into a sort of underbite. His legs were even stronger and had a a bit of a shimmer to them. We had a couple in storage, and I realized that I wanted something transparent. He liked to look. He would float around, wiggling his tail and keeping his head upright. He would just sit there for hours, observing. Imitation jar in the garage. My grandfather once used it to make preserves, but it hadn't been used for a while. It was larger than my head, so there was plenty of space for me to grow. It also helped that it was entirely made of glass. Have a good look. It also had a tap so that I could get some of the wastewater out without having to rinse through the entire thing. It was good enough. There was a corner in one of our old sheds where I knew that no one ever left, and I tried placing it.
You have located a bomb.
He would tap his head against the glass. I don't know where to put you, I said. I have to keep you safe. He tapped his head against the glass again. He was right. I couldn't keep him locked up in the dark. There's a hill overlooking the property at the edge of the forest. And the ground there was softer and covered in moss. I found I put Mila's jar in it, but not all the way up.
Stay behind me.
Above ground like a window. And I covered the rest with leaves and moss. He was happy. I'll try to get you a cricket tomorrow, I said. And maybe some other stuff. Dark eyes looked up at me.
Stay behind me.
Do you need anything? I asked. I wasn't expecting a response, but he tapped against the glass. He had done so many times, but now it seemed more deliberate. Do you really understand?
We move carefully.
Never blamed him, only moved enough to not sink to the bottom. Do you know that you're Mila?
15 seconds remaining. 10 seconds.
I stopped for a moment to
Drop. 5 seconds left. Friendly, last operator standing. We have been eliminated.
A couple of days later, I went back up there to change the water in his jar. It started out well enough, but I ended up spilling a whole jar of wastewater on me. I had to put him back and hurry back to the house to change my clothes before my throat swelled up. I ran through the kitchen. My dad was sitting down with my sisters talking to them about homework. As I passed by, he called out to me, and then followed me into the washroom. I changed my pants and tried to hide the stains, but he was right behind me. What's that smell? Where have you been? Ow.
Need to use your drone to locate a bomb.
I didn't go far, I wasn't going to wake or anything. He took the stained pants from the laundry basket. To me, it smelled like an asthma attack waiting to happen, but to him it was something different. Is that wildfires? Some kind
Drone
of
has located a bomb.
I didn't answer. I washed my hands and I could feel a rash coming on. Dad leaned down and looked me in the eye. Did you make that lemonade before? Put it in a jar on the counter. It's just water.
10 seconds to insertion.
It's not lemonade. Listen. Everything is water.
5 seconds to go.
Sort of.
You found a bomb. Make your way to its location and defuse it.
It's the first time that I saw it. You should make more. He said. It was fantastic. I was a bit skeptical.
The fuck, nigga?
The next time that I cleaned up the
I know I hit those shots.
bottles and that way looked more authentic, like I had made something. Reloading! Dad had never really encouraged me to make things on my own before. I wanted to make him proud. I had seen my parents make everything in that kitchen for years, so I knew where everything was at. I cleaned the bottles up, added some honey and vinegar, and I made my own label. It was all kind of clever. I was afraid that I might slip up the name Milu someday, so I made it the label. That way, nobody would bat an eye if I mentioned it. That night, as my family gathered around the dinner table, I took out every bottle of Milu that I had chilled during the day. Everyone got their own bottle. I told them that Dad liked it and that I hoped they would too. They didn't know what to make of it at first, but they opened their bottles and it fizzed a little like a light sparkling wine. And after that first sip, their frowns melted away. For the first time, there were smiles all across the table. Not just any smile. They were smiling at me. They loved it. They loved me. All summer and well into autumn, I kept my secret routine. Milu was large enough to have an entire meatball for dinner by then. He was longer than my foot, but still had plenty of space to grow. I would feed him, talk to him, clean his jar, and give him things to play with. He was getting tired of toys and rocks. He wanted something new. He would tell me with little taps on the glass. I did this thing where I took old newspapers and cut out setting up and stick them to the glass for Milu to look at. And he loved that. Especially people. Those were the most interesting to him. He always lingered a little longer on pictures where they smiled. I continued to make my bottles of Milu about once a week. I told him that it was my secret recipe. My father would bring home a kettle for me to use. Sometimes he would bring cherries or some other fruit.
15 seconds left. 10 seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. You've dropped the diffuser. One friendly operator remaining. You're out of time.
This kept going on for an entire year. I had the best birthday of my life where my family wholeheartedly celebrated me. It wasn't just an obligation, they were happy to. I was getting invited into conversations. They asked my opinion on things. On New Year's Eve, I even heard my dad drunkenly brag about my drink to a neighbor. I wasn't just a sick boy. I was in the family business. There was some tension though. I would often find Maurice out in the fields or in the kitchen, trying to replicate my recipe. He couldn't make it and it frustrated him to no end.
Protect the bomb.
He explained to me in no uncertain terms that he would make something better. He wouldn't be beaten by somebody who would die from fabric softener. But Dad was thinking of other bigger things. So come spring, we made our first bottle of wine using water and dilution. We had to balance out the sugar levels. But it can change the way that it feels.
10 seconds to insertion.
He held up my bottle, giving it a cheeky little shake.
5 seconds.
This, it'll feel like a mother's kiss.
My evil eye has your back.
You must protect your bombs from being defused by Op 4.
Dad poured it into a second glass. We let it rest for a little. We sat quietly around the kitchen table waiting patiently. He smelled it and twirled it to observe the color and the consistency. And when he finally tasted it, his eyes went red. He put the glass down and smiled at me like he had just won the lottery. He swept me up on his shoulder and hurried outside, bringing the bottle as he went. He called out to my mom to try the glass in the kitchen.
A bomb has been located by Op 4.
A cigarette. Dad handed over the bottle. Tell me this isn't the best thing you've ever had. The worker, Claude, had a sip straight from the bottle. He thought about it, and then something just clicked. A smile melted onto his face and he laughed. He handed the bottle to the others. Others came to look. Everybody got to try it. All the while, my dad went around to them one by one. My son made this. My son did. There were pats on my shoulder. They lifted me up and shit.
Detonated.
Placed the bottle around and sip by sip. Best thing I've ever tasted, someone said. It's soft. How can it be so soft? It melts me. After that, things were wonderful and complicated. Dad really wanted me to give him the recipe. He couldn't understand why, and I couldn't blame him. I was just a kid, and I hated lying to him. But he would be horrified if I knew stories. He had plans of his own. One day, as I had finished cleaning Milu's jar, I noticed Maurice. He had been following me. I thought that I had been clever, hiding the empty bottles in my school bag where he must have heard the clinking.
Let's get a
He
good
hadn't
look.
seen the jar yet, but it was only a matter of time. He walked up to me with a smug smirk. You hide them up here. What are you using? He looked around, kicking some leaves. I didn't say a thing or move a muscle. It felt like facing a predator, like movement would trigger him. I don't get it, he continued. Is it mushrooms, roots? He picked up a rock and looked at me. I didn't meet his gaze.
15 seconds left.
That was apparently the wrong thing for me to do because he threw the rock.
10 seconds left.
He missed, and it hit the side.
5 seconds left. Time limit reached.
Pushed the moss on the other side, finding the top of the jar. He grinned as he twisted the lid. The moment that it popped open, I had pulled out a bottle from my pack and held it up like a club. Stop it, I said, or else. He stopped, he dropped the lid, and he turned to me. Older, stronger, and healthier. He was better in every way. And yet, I had threatened him. He wasn't having it. He wrestled me to the ground and beat me. I had never been in a fight with him before, not like that. It was just malice through and through. He was enjoying himself, showing how powerless I was.
Secure the area. Keep the
As
bombs
I lay with
protected.
my face in the mud, I looked over him and he was drunk. I saw something. The long face of the trap.
Doorway secured!
Maurice rolled.
Changing mag! One-way trap. Stay clear of
It was as if he was wearing an evil shield. His eyes rolled
Window
back
barricade
and
up!
his fingers were making these weird twitching movements. He was frothing at the mouth.
Location compromised. Plan of order. Down to 10 seconds.
I was over slapping
5 seconds to insertion.
Changing mag!
up this way, all of them gasping for air.
Op 4 has located a bomb. Get ready to engage.
Nearing the color of Milu. It's okay, I waved at Milu, trying to not think of my broken leg. It's okay, Milu. He stopped shivering. He just rested his head at the edge of the jar. And then Maurice spoke.
Now you don't.
Friend. It was his mouth and his voice. A deep, broken rumble. I could see a tremble in his throat like something was about to emerge. Something pushing against the skin. My eyes went from Maurice
Are you alive, ready to kill them all?
We're doing that, I whispered. He will not hurt you. I will make sure. Maurice wasn't moving. I couldn't even tell if he was alive. Was he breathing or shaking? How do you do that? I asked. I can swim, he answered. I can swim very far. I didn't have to say thank you. Milu just plopped back into his jaw. His eyes returned to a cold, natural gray. He bent over, screaming from a stomachache, and couldn't stop throwing up. He had no idea what it was.
Setting C4. Detonated.
I felt like the king. Maurice and his and I felt confident. I had a friend looking out for me, and he was so the next time that my dad asked me to help with the wine, I said yes, but on my terms. He couldn't touch the tank. No one agreed. It was mid-July when we got the tank set up. No one was about. Let's engage. I dropped in Milo. You can't look out, I said. All day, is that okay? He tapped his head against the metal siding. I was okay with it. He had so much room to grow. He was already the size of my leg. I had a stupid idea. I borrowed a beach ball from the shed and climbed into the tank with Milu. It was cold and dark and I trusted him. He was my best friend and he never hurt me. It was fresh, so reaction. But instead, I blew the ball up and passed it to him. And he passed it back.
Let's get a good look at you.
Before I knew it, we were playing catch, bouncing it back and forth.
15 seconds left.
From there,
10 seconds left. 5 seconds remaining. Reach the time limit.
this was a very passionate project. The whole thing was getting out of hand. I had to yell at workers to not investigate the dilution tank. My dad,
worst time.
and he kept his promise to leave me in charge of the tank, but I could tell that he was about to budge. I could see it all slipping between my fingers. I was getting pushed out of the equation. But then again, why wouldn't I be? You can't rest an industry on the shoulders of a child. One night, I saw my dad climb up to check the tank. He wanted to grab a sample to have it analyzed. He had promised me 100 times over that he wouldn't do it, but he did it anyway. I didn't understand that he needed to make
Secure
sure
the
that
bombs.
Very tasty.
and that it was safe to drink. You can't put mystery recipes in the
Be advised, a bomb location has been compromised.
He had climbed down 100%, like a ninja. My dad's new dark expressionless eyes settled on
10 seconds left.
Reloading smile.
5 seconds to insertion.
Over the next few weeks, I noticed things. I saw
Op 4 has located a bomb. Get ready to engage.
My sister's eyes turned dark as she watched the TV, forgetting to blink. My brothers would sit on the floor next to the fridge, tasting jams and sauces straight from the jars. Milu was using his newfound strength to look beyond the tank, using the eyes of anyone who had drunk from his waters. I remember my father coming home with dark eyes. My mother had them too. They started kissing in the hallway, but not like nice kissing. I had never seen them like that before. They were pushing, biting, and grabbing. I had never seen adults act like that before. They hurried up the stairs. But it wasn't all the time. Most of the time.
EasyCater is the premier tech platform for ordering food for your workplace. Choose from your favorite restaurants and place an order in minutes, so you can focus on what really matters. Like minestrone.
Start an order at easycater.com.
Until it wasn't. I remember my 10th birthday. It was great. I stepped downstairs and into the dining room. They were sitting on the sofa. My sisters, my brother, all their eyes dark with smiles plastered across their faces, like they didn't know how to smile. More like snarling wolves, biting down so hard that their jaws trembled. Happy birthday. They all said at once. I got to see all eyes. My dad got up with a kitchen knife. Pushed my sister out of the way so hard that she fell off her chair.
Activating glance.
He He leaned over the table, smashing his hand down on a plate like his joints were too stiff. It's a miracle the plate didn't crack. He leaned in on the knife, putting his entire weight on it, and cutting off he didn't notice. He didn't even cut up a slice. He just cut into the cake because that's what he had seen in the pictures. They don't move in newspaper clippings. With both his hands, he grabbed the thing across the table, dragging the tablecloth along. Every plate rolled. Spoons clattered as my siblings toppled over like a
Down to 15 seconds.
Loading mag!
Happy birthday,
10 seconds to go.
my dad gargled. Best friend.
5 seconds left. One friendly operator remaining. Mission failed. All friendlies were eliminated.
The one remaining spoon on the table was mine. They all stared in awe, waiting for me to approve. I took a bite of the carrot cake and their teeth began to chatter. They were so pleased. so pleased. I didn't know what to do. Milo kept reaching further and further away. I would see people around town walking around with dark eyes. Bus drivers, fruit vendors. I'd see them smelling flowers, running their hands across the blue sunflower petals at the shop. Sometimes there would be groups of them. They wouldn't even bother speaking like people. They would gargle.
Secure the area. Keep the bombs protected.
New visceral sensations. I would see them at the library. 10 people making 10 different things. I would see it at school with them using clumsily slamming their hands and then finally tuning at the end. And I had read about it.
My evil eye.
Or dark.
Op 4 is located bomb. Be ready for the call.
Loading mag. Barrels that were making a way toward the left. Neither knew what he was doing.
Down to 10 seconds. Down to 5 seconds. Op 4 has located a bomb. Be ready for hostile action.
By then, he was at once already gone. He spun himself into a spiral. Reload. His little black thing was no longer than a nail. His kin from the barrels. I didn't know what to say. Just opening my mouth made the fumes go. Milo uncoiled and raised himself up. His eyes were bigger than my fists. The spots of his slime were thicker than my fingers. Just like little kids had gotten away from me. He was no longer my friend. Translucent like glass. He put his mouth against my forehead as if giving me a tender kiss. It was cold and burned. Whatever he was doing, I was still allergic to it. You're hurting me, he said. He leaned back. Now and then he understood. The bottom of the table, and I climbed back out.
These are one.
That's nice.
The open, using chains wrapped around the side. It made this long track in the ground, flawlessly toppling over grapevines. I put on my shoes and got hurried down the stairs. My siblings were already outside, flailing in the night sky. They had completely abandoned trying to make it sound like
One Op 4 remaining.
they even smelled like Milo. They were all busy pushing, chasing, dancing, jumping, and yelling. One of my sisters were on her knees just staring at the full moon. Claude was playing with a torch, running a black and tan.
One friendly operator remaining.
But I couldn't see Mom and Dad. And then I did.
1v1 chat.
They were doing something between them. After a couple of seconds, I could see ahead. They were
Why is he
holding
rushing?
someone up, carrying them on their shoulders. A stranger, it seemed. He was waking up. "Let me go," he yelled. "Who are you people?" Everyone threw things at him. Grapes, tools, gloves. He was bleeding from his forehead.
Down to 15 seconds.
Closer, I could see a gash across his forehead. They had heard
Time
me.
expires in 10 seconds.
"What are you doing?" he asked. "What is this?"
5 seconds to
There
go.
was no response as they let off the side of the tank. The moment they looked down and started
You're out of time.
His body was betraying him. I protested, but my voice felt tiny. They didn't hear me, or maybe they didn't care. I threw him into the water tank.
Fuck him.
His screams turned from panic to pain.
Only
I could hear
MPV
his
because he
voice
fucking didn't
flicker,
die instantly.
as if he was suddenly tugged and pulled in different directions. They celebrated,
fuckers
cheering,
get fucking
gargling.
penis.
And as the screaming grew louder, a hand pulled on my finger. My youngest sister looking up at me with dark, expressionless eyes. "You want to try, to taste, to see. You're hurting him. Please, you have to stop." "I'm just hurting him. Not you, never you." "No, this hurts. This hurts me too." That made her pause. For a moment, the movement inside the tank stopped. She held my hand thinking, and then a plastered smile returned to my face. "Solution, friend. Best friend." She hugged me. Others followed suit. Mom, Dad, Maurice. The screaming in the tank resumed.
Okay.
They pulled me to the ground, wrapping me in a hug, stroking my hair and cheeks, caring for me. All the while, the screaming in the tank was cut short, replaced with the snapping of bones and the tearing of flesh. "I love you. I love you." I lay there all night, listening to a man being eaten alive. The following morning, there was a bag.
Be advised, the bomb location has been compromised. Down to 10 seconds.
Wall's done!
Down to 5 seconds.
Wall is done!
Op 4 has located a bomb. Get ready to engage.
Heading welcome back.
Friendly, last operator standing. Mission failed. All friendlies were
What the
eliminated.
fuck happened? Absolutely got smack hammers, guys. What the fuck? Doctor. Like his friend. I don't know. What is his name? She's black and she played. Oh, Doctor Stuffers. I mean, it's good
Protect
to
the
play,
bombs.
right? But like, he's gonna die instantly. Still in the fucking mode.
seconds left. Op 4 has located a bomb.
That had no language in them so that anyone could enjoy them, and that was how I came up with the idea to do sound effects.
Shit.
I took cartoons and I used the drum set and the instruments, and I recreated all the sound effects of the scene where they're cooking up some soup. From the moment I uploaded this video, I just feel that something was a little bit different. It was insane. I was 25 on Instagram. I didn't know what to do. And it was my grandma. She just turned 99. She said, "You've got a good idea. Now's the time to focus." Now I have over 2 million followers across my social media channels.
The fuck?
As my brand continues to grow,
Shoot, god damn it.
And so I made a website on Wix. I wanted the website to really represent me and my entire brand, and it perfectly matched the tone that I was trying to get, which is playful yet professional. When the website came together, I had a similar feeling to how I feel when I've gotten that perfect take on one of my videos. I have a big smile on my face,
One friendly operator remaining.
Okay,
oh my God,
okay.
this is perfect.
I'll give him that, I guess. But like, that was still fucking gay as hell, and we're stupid guys. 2v half health is not gonna work out.
Thirsty hair? Meet Aussie. It's giving moisture with a capital M. Made for every type and texture,
fucking here
so
when
you
you're
can drench
starting,
curls,
you're cut.
make waves, and
You
turn up the
didn't finish
volume.
it off,
Moisture
no.
made for everyone. Get Aussie. Awesome hair for everyone.
Mission failed. All friendlies have been neutralized.
Bro got him with a fucking pistol, crazy. That's what I think Last round,
So I got
try it
an
again.
apartment across from the park, but quinoa in my fridge. Still, I'm not feeling right. Been a hell of a ride, but I'm thinking it's time to go.
That was going for ascension. That would be for attack, not.
Protect the bomb.
Ugly ass.
Op 4 located a bomb. Protect it. Down to 5 seconds. Bomb located by Op 4.
Setting the welcome.
One friendly remaining.
Bro. How? There he goes. Behind your dumbass. He shoot. Okay.
Where are they?
Op 4, last stop standing.
Here we go.
fucking knew where
failed.
they are.
All friendlies have been neutralized.
Certain things you just can't refuse. She wanna ride me like a cruise, and I'm not trying to lose. Then you're left in the dust, unless I stuck by ya. You're a sunflower. I think your love would be too much, or you'd be left in the dust, unless I stuck by ya. You're the sunflower. You're the sunflower.
We need to locate a bomb. Your drone has found a bomb. Seconds before insertion. 5 seconds to go. Proceed to bomb's location and defuse it. Friendly, last operator standing.
Guys, I'm gonna play a different game for a little bit. Damn, I like this game. Talking new dude. See you later.